Hello and welcome to creating a project in Vivado. In this lecture, I'm going to walk through and show you how to create a project in Vivado using the RDA7 development board. This is the board we're going to be using to complete the buttons and LEDs project using Vivado. And on the board, we will be using the push buttons, which we have buttons 3, 2, 1, and 0, and as well as using a switch for an enable disable operation, and 4 of the LEDs located on the RDA7 development board. What we'll want to do is, after you've downloaded Vivado 2016.2, we'll go ahead and bring that up, and I'm going to walk you through the steps required to create a project for the buttons and LEDs course. So once you bring up Vivado, you'll notice if you've opened projects previously, you'll see in the recent projects there are all the different projects that you have recently opened, and if you click on these, it'll take you to that specific project. It's just kind of like a quick little shortcut of all the various projects you've worked on previously in the last month or so. And if you go ahead, we want to, from the quick start menu, click on create new project, and this will bring up our create a new project wizard. And this wizard is going to guide us through everything we need to create our brand new project. So we want to go ahead and click next, and we want to give the project a name, and the name can be whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it button underscore LED. You'll want to give it something that makes sense to the project you're working on, and you want to define the project location, and then you'll want to make sure you have create project subdirectory checked, and right below that will tell you the specific location where your project will be created. In this case, mine is on the D drive in a directory fedeval projects rda7/button LED. And then you'll click next, and it's going to tell me right here we have a little error. It's saying, hey, this project already exists in that directory, so I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to give it another name, button LED underscore example, and we'll click next. Now we want to select the project type. There are various types of projects. There is an RTL project, which is what we'll be using. You also have a post synthesis project, an IO planning project. You can import a project, or you can create a new project from a Vivado example. However, we're going to go with the RTL project for all the courses. In all the projects in this course, we'll be using the RTL projects. These are the most common. You can import your IP. You can place IP that's already a part of Vivado, as well as create your own VHDL design sources. And we will click next. Then it brings up a window to add sources. This is where you will specify the VHDL or any type of design sources. If you want to import them, you would click on the add files, and it'll bring you up a navigation window where you would select any type of design source. And if you look at the types of files it supports, there are VHDL, Verilog, as well as different scripts and all kinds of different files associated with projects in Vivado. I'm going to go ahead and click cancel, because after we create the project, I'll show you how to create a brand new VHDL file, as well as how to import VHDL files. So go ahead and click next. And this is where you would add existing IP or intellectual property. And these are commonly, you can purchase these on the Xilinx website. You can create your own from different designs. However, for our project, we're just going to have a single VHDL file. We won't actually need IP. So we'll just go ahead and click next. And this is where you can add a constraints file. And a constraints file is where you define your inputs, outputs, and timings. However, we're going to add that later, and I'll show you how to do that from after the project's created, how to import a constraints file. If you have one you wanted to import already, you would click on the add files, and it brings up the navigation window where you go out and select a constraints file, which would be the .xdc file. We'll hit cancel and click on next. Now we want to specify the actual part we're going to be using. And this is the actual specific FPGA that is on the RDA7 development board. If you click on, you can see we have two different options. We can click on parts or boards. If we click on boards, this brings up specific boards that Vivado has supported in the specific release. So in this case, the 2016.2, they have the Z-Board Zinc Evaluation and Development Kit, the Artix 7 AC701 Evaluation Platform, and the Zinc 7 ZC702 Evaluation Board. But the RDA7 is not supported, so we have to go to parts and pick the specific FPGA. So product category, we'll leave it all. For the family, we want to select the Artix 7, and the package is a CSG324. And you can notice this by, if you look on the actual Artix board itself, you can see the CSG324, or if you look in the manual, it tells you the specific part number that we're looking for. And the speed grade is the -1L, and this gives us the remaining options. On the RDA7, we have an Artix A35T, and so that's the second option left in the parts menu. So if we select that FPGA, it tells us all the different information on that FPGA. The I/O pin count, block RAMs, DSPs, flip-flops, gigabit transceivers, available I/O blocks, lookup table elements, and so on and so forth. And the big difference between these parts, you'll notice the XC7A, there's a 35T, a 15T, a 50T, 75T, and a 100T. And the biggest difference is just the amount of resources. The 35T has more than the 15, but less than the 50, and so on down. You can see that, for example, the DSPs, which is a good indicator of how powerful your FPGA is, we have 90 on the Artix A7, but if you go with the Artix A7 A100T, you have 240, so quite a bit more. However, it does cost more. And so that just kind of gives you a little overview of the amount of resources you have on the specific FPGA for your project. So go ahead and click Next, and this brings up the new project summary. This just tells you a little bit about the project. We're having a new RTL project, the name, and it's giving us a little warning saying we haven't defined any source files. And that's okay, because we're going to go ahead and create the actual VHDL file for this project. And we'll click Finish. And it's going to go ahead and create the project at the location we have defined. And you'll notice in our design sources we have no files. So we'll want to add one, but as we go through, and as I talk about the different lectures, we'll go through the different libraries, we'll go through keywords, so on and so forth. And as we do that, I'll create a VHDL file that I'll walk you through, and we'll use that for a button and LED example project. And so that is how you create a project using Vivado.